Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. I've been meaning to check out this video for a minute. It is titled, How Did the States of Germany Get Their Names? As we all know, names are very important, and honestly, names is just as complicated as languages, in my humble opinion, because when you really think about the English language and you're like, oh, it's Germanic, you're like, wait, what? Like, I'm not saying this if you're one of those smarty pants out there, right? But I'm not one of them smarty pants. I'm one of the guys who, I'm more assigned to a specific type of thing, and that's what I usually pay attention to, right? But as I try to spread my, not spread my knowledge because I ain't got none, but as I try to, widen my knowledge, on different things, it hits you and you're like, oh, wait a minute. English is Germanic. It's a Germanic language. It came from there. You're like, oh my gosh, that is crazy, right? So to figure out where Germany actually has all of its states' name from would be pretty cool because I don't know and I would love to know. So we're going to be checking out this video today, and it is coming from the YouTube channel known as Name Explained. So a link will be in the description of this video so you guys can actually go over to that YouTube channel and show some love to them, because without them I wouldn't know the names and where they came from. So yeah, without further ado, let's check out this video. Thank you for watching. As usual, please do like and subscribe. If you have any recommendations, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below, or preferably click that link in the pinned comment section. It's going to be a link to a Google form, and once you click that link in that for that Google form, we'll be able to recommend videos through the Google form, and I'll check them out as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Let's check it out.
Don't forget to check out my podcast, AD History, where me and my co Don't forget to check out my podcast, AD History, where me and my co-host Paul are retelling and evaluating world history from 1 AD all the way up to the present day, decade by decade. You'll be able to find it wherever you choose to listen to podcasts. We have the Romans to thank for the name Germany. In fact, none other than the most famous Roman himself, Julius Caesar. In one of his writings, he spoke of a tribal people he called the Germani, people the Roman had come into contact with who resided in modern-day Germany. And because of these people, the Romans dubbed their land Germania, which transformed into the name Germany we have today. Though it wasn't just the Germani people who lived in this land. All kinds of different tribes of people lived in the lands that would become Germany, and all these tribes had different names. Because of this, different outsiders gave the land different names depending on what Germanic tribe they first met or had to deal with most. In example, the French dealt a lot with the Alemanni tribe, so to them the country became Allemagne. Meanwhile, Finnic speakers in Finland and Estonia interacted more with the Saxon tribes, so named the land Saxa after them. While all these other people were giving their land a name, the actual people of the land thought of themselves as just people, so named the land after their word for of the people, which was Fudisk, which eventually evolved into the German name for Germany, Deutschland. Now, while this video isn't really a so named the land after their word for of the people, which was Fudisk, which eventually evolved into the German name for Germany, Deutschland. Now, while this video isn't really about how the nation as a whole got a selection of its many names, I feel it's only right to start with this, as the many names of Germany kind of explains to us just how important the various regions of Germany are. Germany really is a country built on its regions. For the longest time in history, there was no nation called Germany, but just a collection of Germanic states that shared very little in common other than languages that all sounded somewhat similar.
Really?
And it stayed this way all the
That's kind of like Switzerland, because I've learned a lot actually about Switzerland and how the cantons and how they just kept joining, and you know what I mean, because they're like, yeah, we winning fights over here, let's go over there and join with these dudes. So that's actually pretty similar to Switzerland, because it was cantons for Switzerland, and then they just kept adding on.
18th of January 1871, where after a war with the French, the various Germanic states were unified simply into the single nation of Germany. This was all done under the guidance of Otto von Bismarck, a statesman who went on to become the first Chancellor of Germany, and luckily enough was an incredibly German-looking man himself. What a coincidence. Because for so long, Germany was little more than an ununified series of states, many of these states built strong images for themselves, and are perhaps just as well known as the nation as a whole. A name like Bavaria conjures up a strong image in one's mind of greenery, castles and beer, whereas Berlin conjures up an image of modern history and a much more modern design. At least for me it does anyway. And Bavaria and Berlin are both states of Germany, except you may have noticed that one is a huge area of land and one's just a single city. This is because the states of Germany really do vary in size like this, which you will see as we look into them. And
Okay.
Germany has an incredibly rich history, in that many states have disappeared, or have only come into existence in the last 30 years or so. I really don't think there
Really?
are many countries that have changed their borders as much as Germany has. Just look at maps of Germany throughout history. Today, however, we're looking into the here and now, and today Germany comprises of 16 states, so it's these 16 names we'll be looking into. And as for their
Okay.
names, it's their English names we'll be checking out. Whilst, as we mentioned,
English?
the country itself
Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, hold on. Wait. You gotta stop right there. He said we're gonna be looking at the English names, which I don't understand that Germany is English and Deutschland would be the German, right? But how is Berlin like English? Y'all got to explain that in the comment section because I don't get that statement. I really don't. I honestly don't.
has really different names in English and German, the names of its states aren't as different. On the whole, they aren't completely different names with different meanings.
Mess me up.
We'll be checking out. Whilst, as we mentioned, the country itself has really different names in English and German, the names of its states aren't as different. On the whole, they aren't completely different names with different meanings for the states between languages. It's just that in their English names, words we have in English are spelt in English. I'm rambling now. This will make more sense as we go along. And let's start up in the north of Germany with the state of Schleswig-Holstein. This state, as mentioned, is the most northern point of Germany, and its northernmost border is Denmark's southernmost border. Because of how close the land is to Denmark, there have been wars and arguments over which country owns the land, and it has even belonged to both countries. Because
Really?
of this, there is a very mixed population of Germans and Danes living in this land. It is also nicknamed the land between two seas, as to its east is the Baltic Sea, and to its west is the East Sea, which saying out loud is pretty weird, but we live on a globe. One person's east is another's west. The name of this state is of course from
That's true. That is true. Another person's east is another person's west. It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
joining up the two historic states of Schleswig and Holstein. The name Schleswig comes from the Schlei, an inlet from the Baltic Sea in this land, and the Wig/Wig suffix means bay in Old Norse, so the name means the Bay of the Schlei. The Holstein part of the name is believed to come from a tribe of people who lived here called the Holkate, which is believed to mean dwellers in the wood. To the east of this, we have Mecklenburg West Pomerania, which is known as Mecklenburg-Vorpommern in German. This state seems to take pride in their natural landscapes, almost 2,000 kilometers of coastline along the Baltic Sea, and the picturesque ancient towns that look like they have come out of fairy tales. The current Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, has a constituency in this state. Like with the previous state, this state's name derives from merging the historic regions of Mecklenburg and West Pomerania. The region of Mecklenburg was named after a castle that once stood here called Mecklenburg Castle, and it's believed this name means in Saxon a big castle, so despite the fact this castle no longer stands, we can presume it would have been pretty big. And of course,
Right.
West Pomerania comes from the fact that it was the western part of the former region of Pomerania, with Pomerania being a region that runs across the Baltic Sea, in what is now Germany and Poland. Because part of Pomerania was Polish, the name comes from the Polish Pomorzie, meaning by the sea, as it's by the Baltic Sea. And yes, a certain species of dog has this region to thank for its name. As I mentioned, some of these states are simply just cities, and the city of Hamburg is one of them. Hamburg is the second largest city in all of Germany. It's also huge. Just as many people live in the greater Hamburg area as they do in the entire country of Norway, and Hamburg's harbour is almost as big as Copenhagen. It's a huge maritime industrial city that has a state unto
Damn.
itself. With Hamburg, you'll once again see the Berg suffix, which means castle, but the Ham part is thought to possibly mean bend/angle, as the city was built on a bend of a river. And of course, a certain kind of food has this city to thank for its name too.
Hamburger.
The smallest of all of Germany's states is called Bremen. It's actually split between two separate land areas, both within another region we'll talk about next. Not only is Bremen the smallest state, but it's also the least populated in Germany, consisting
Really?
of just the city of Bremen and Bremenhaven. The city's name is thought to come from the Saxon blem or blemo, which means edge or brim, as the city was built on the edge/brim of the river Weser. As mentioned, the state of Bremen
Wow.
is completely engulfed in another state, with that state being Lower Saxony, which in German
It seems like this happened quite a lot in Germany, though, where a state is in another state.
is called Niedersachsen. Lower Saxony is Germany's second largest state in size. It seems this state is really well known for their horses, so much so there's a horse on their flag and coat of arms. The Saxony part of this name comes from the name of the Saxon Germanic tribe, who yes, along the Germanic angles helped form the Anglo-Saxons, who inhabited the island of Britain. Saxon is thought to come from the German Saxa, meaning warriors with knives, coming from the Old Norse Sax, meaning knife/sword/dagger. Now, this of course also explains to us how the region of just Saxony got its name, which is more in the south of Germany. Though this brings up the question of why there is somewhere called Lower Saxony that is more northern than the state of just Saxony. Well,
Okay.
the lower in Lower Saxony doesn't relate to cardinal directions, but more elevation. Just Saxony contains all the Alps, and of course the Alps are rather high, so the Saxons who didn't live in the Alps were lower.
Is this real though? Holy shit. If this is real, bro, like, man. Oh my, if this is real, that is something else. If that's real, I'm really, man. A hike right here would have been so amazing, dude. Like, come on now, man. Like, what? Are you kidding me? This cannot be real. It has to be like fake. No way.
Down, hence why they are Lower Saxony, despite being more northern. The name of Saxony also appears in the name of the region of Saxony-Anhalt too, which is east of Lower Saxony. We know all about the Saxony part now, so what about the Anhalt part? It seems the Anhalt part originates from a ruined castle called Anhalt Castle, though from where the name of this castle comes from we don't seem to know. In the east of Germany we have the state of Brandenburg, and if you're anything like myself, you may be shocked.
Brandenburg. I would have thought that was British. Somebody told me they going to Brandenburg. I'm like, okay, I see you, man. You going English on me, baby? What's good? Okay, Brandenburg. Cause I don't know. Okay.
That Brandenburg is more than just a big fancy gate. While the state may be home to the city of Potsdam, 1/3 of the region is protected land with mountains, tree-lined roads, and lakes. We have the Berg part once again meaning castle, and I read the Branden part means burn, so the name means burnt castle, which is pretty cool, but why this castle is burning, however, I couldn't find out. And within the state of Brandenburg, we have the state of Berlin, which, like Hamburg and Bremen, is the single city that is also a whole state. And of course, Berlin is the capital of Germany. It's a city steeped in a huge amount of history, as one of my personal favourite cities in the world. Seriously, go to Berlin. As for where the name comes from, we have a few ideas. Berlin is a city heavily associated with bears. There's even a bear on their flag. And the name was thought to come from the name of these animals, coming from the German Bar, meaning bear.
What kind of bears do we talk about? Like actual bears, like just roaming them streets? Well, not the streets, but like the forest. Really? I want to see a bear. Well, I have seen one in Finland actually, but he was locked up, man. I'm trying to see one of them big boys out in them, you know what I'm saying? But the locked up bears, you know what I mean. I want to see one out there in the forest where I probably get scared or something like that, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But this is now considered something of a folk etymology. Today, it's thought to come from Slavic sources, meaning things like swamp or marshy place, as the city was initially founded on low, marshy swampland. In the west of Germany, we have the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. This is Germany's most populated state and includes many of the nation's well-known cities, including Cologne, Düsseldorf, and Dortmund. This state was formed
Dusseldorf? He said Dusseldorf? I thought it was Dusseldorf.
Nation's well-known cities, including Cologne.
I thought it was Dusseldorf. Listen, he is my pronunciation so bad? He did not say Dusseldorf.
Düsseldorf and Dortmund. This state was formed in 1946 from the previous provinces of Westphalia.
Oh, that's new.
Part of the Rhine province. The
1946
name Westphalia comes from west as it's in the west, and Phalia comes from a Germanic term meaning flat/level. So the name means West Flatlands. Germany also has an Eastphalia, but that name doesn't seem to be used too much in any modern sense. The North Rhine part comes of course from the Rhine River in West Germany, with this river's name coming from an ancient root meaning to flow. In central Germany we have the state of Hesse. It seems that the name for this state is much like Saxony, in the fact it is named after settlers of the land, the Hessian tribe, though I was unable to find out where their name came from. Though, interestingly, for those with knowledge of the American Revolution, the word Hessian may ring a bell, as the German troops hired by the British to help them in the Revolution were also known as the Hessians, and much like with Hesse, the state of Thuringia is too named after the Germanic people who settled there, the Thuringi, though we aren't too sure how those people got their name either. South of here we have the states of Rhineland-Palatinate. The Rhine part we covered earlier with the Rhine River, but what about the Palatinate part of the name? Well, this has more to do with wine than the Rhine, as it's one of Germany's largest wine-growing regions. In German, Palatinate is called Flats, and this means palace/high official residence. Saarland is a tiny nook of a state in the southwest of the country. It's the smallest state apart from
I've never heard of that
the
before.
city-state, and its capital somewhat shares its name, being called Saarbrücken. The region is named after the Saar River, which runs through not just Germany but France too. Baden-Württemberg.
Damn! I had no idea there was anything like this in the world, dude. Wow.
After the Saar River, which runs through not just Germany but France too. Baden-Württemberg is Germany's third largest state, and it came into creation in 1952 when the three smaller states of Württemberg-Baden, Baden, and Württemberg-Hohenzollern merged together. We've had places named after people, castles and rivers, but it seems the Württemberg part of the name comes from a hill with the same name in the state's capital of Stuttgart, while the Baden part comes from the name of the spa town of Baden in the region, and Baden simply means bathing, kind of like how here in England we have a spa town called Bath. And finally, we have Germany's largest and perhaps most well-known state, minus the cities, Bavaria. The word conjures up the classic German image of lederhosen, beers, and beautiful scenery. Though, what about that name? Well, once again, we have a group of people to thank for it. This time the Celtic Boy people, which turned into Latin Boeria, and eventually into Bavaria. So, whether you are drinking beers in Bavaria or eating hamburgers in, well, Hamburg, now you have a better idea as to how the states of this wonderful nation got their names.
Damn.
The states of Germany were suggested by Sebastian, and
I mean, it was kind of obvious that obviously all the names are going to come from something that took place there. It's either the land, there's some special animal there, the people does something weird there, or some of them sort of like that. So it's kind of expected if you ask me, but this was actually a pretty solid explanation in my humble opinion. But that thing I mentioned at the beginning of the video still has me a little bit confused, where he said about the name being German but also English, where he's like, okay, the names we're going to be covering is the English version of the German names. You know, like Deutschland to Germany. It's limits. I'm confused about
thanks
it, but
to their suggestion, they will now be honoured as Name Explain's patron saint of the states of Germany. Do you have a good idea for somewhere that's name could be covered in a Name Explain video? If so, then please consider donating on Patreon.
Shout out to Sebastian. Butcher my freaking pronunciation. Nah, but this was a very good video. Beautiful explanation, in my humble opinion. Shout out to the Name Explain YouTube channel. Cannot believe there's a YouTube channel known as Name Explain. That's actually crazy, right? But this was a pretty chill video, in my humble opinion. It's a 5-year-old video. Hopefully Germany didn't have any new states by those times, since then, I should say. But you know, when it comes to states in Germany, I think Bavaria and Berlin are the two most popular states in Germany, in my humble opinion. Like, if you say Berlin, I think a lot of people will know. If you say Bavaria, in fact, I think Berlin is probably way more popular, to be honest, because there is so much history there. Okay, there's history everywhere in this world, but World War II, that's it right there. Berlin Wall, we got all kinds of histories there. So, you know, East, West Berlin, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not German, but you guys are German, so let me know. Is Bavaria more popular compared to Berlin when it comes to German state? Because I think definitely Bavaria is like huge, but Berlin, I think, it's literally the capital of Germany, for crying out loud. So, I don't know. I think I'm gonna say it's definitely Berlin. But thank you guys for watching this video. Please do like and subscribe. Check out the Name Explain YouTube channel. Link will be in the description. Thank you for watching as usual. If you guys have any recommendations, leave those in the comment section down below, or probably click that link in the pinned comment section where you get recommended videos using a Google form, and I'll check them out as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Peace.